All right, today's video is going to be me being completely honest with you. Screw the algorithm, so to help it out, hit the like button. But I'm going to tell you how I feel. It's might be controversial, but I really want people to think this is coming from someone who's bullish on Stellar, but my professional background, I have a different way of looking at things. So let's do this. Let's go screen and explore how I feel about Stellar's second quarter. All right, so now I'm going to bring you into my world, the world of continuous improvement, lean, and Six Sigma. That is my background. All right, so I look at this and I see active accounts, and I could see, yes, at November, December 2021, during the peak of the crypto boom, 155,000 active daily accounts. But you can see right now we are at 60,000, almost a third of what we had in November and December. And now I want you to think about that too in terms of price. All right, and let's blow this out here real quick to give you a 1 year. So you can see that November, December right there, constant decline. All right. So same thing. You could see a decline of user base of active wallets on here. Well, let's take it a step further, because remember, we want to think about data that's active. What can you do with this data? And we're going to tie it into MoneyGram here. Don't you worry about it. All right, so let's look at Stellar Google Trends. You could see the peak search for Stellar XLM as a phrase was November and December. You could see a constant decline since then. In fact, 15% of what they used to have volume-wise compared to that November, December timeframe. So you can see it's like almost a fifth of the volume, if not less, of people actually searching it. All right, now let's take things a step deeper. What about StockTwits, messaging a platform online? All right, now with this data, you could see right here. All right, so we're going to go over the last month and a half, it looks like. Yeah, about the last month and a half, you could see there was almost 300 messages a day in the early part of June. And just lately, we've had 73 messages a day with a 10% drop in volume. And look, that's just gauging it from right here. But you can actually see from some peak sentiment, we've had a huge decline in actual messages in regarding to Stellar XLM. All right, now automated market makers. Let's refresh this here real quick, because when you look at it, you could see liquidity right here at 14.5 million. That is going to be less. So unless something crazy and dramatic happens with the market or some massive project gets launched on the Stellar chain, Stellar is actually going to be less in terms of how much liquidity they have on the entire chain compared to the previous year's Meridian 2021. All right, so that's data, and that all sounded really bad. And yeah, that's kind of the idea there. That's the reason why Stellar isn't big right now price-wise, is because we haven't seen actual big-time growth from any of their projects that have been there. Yes, the projects are working out on a technical nature, but the usage of it just isn't there. Now, I'm saying that's not damning on Stellar completely, but when you look at continuous improvement, what you look at companies, right, that separate just the top-tier companies from ones that just kind of barely struggle or get by. Because remember, what's the mission of Stellar? Equal financial access for everyone, right? Helping out those cash-based societies, doing what they can to bring services to everyone out there. Financial inclusion. So when we gauge up financial inclusion, we're looking at active wallets, we're looking at starting new wallets, we're looking at some of those metrics, right? Those are some of the big keys right now to judge Stellar's growth. I would be right now asking these questions, all right? Is the data that you're using helping you to get to your goal? And what are you doing to go right after your data? For instance, all right, if Stellar right now is looking at it, are they saying, hey, are we looking at repeat MoneyGram users? Are we looking at penetration based on age, based on where the origination location, the destination location is on all these? There's a whole bunch of data bits that you can go through this. Now we have to start talking about what about the custody of those data bits, all right? And this is where things get very confusing. And I think a lot of people, and myself included, you can get really lost in this. So I'll break it down real easy. All right. When a company goes into a partnership, unless you're really, really heavy intimate in that company, I would mean the very few that are involved, they all signed NDAs, so good luck trying to find this stuff out. But you kind of have to know who has custody over what part of the project. All right, so what if Stellar's actual background in this whole project is, hey, guess what? You guys develop the blockchain stuff, you guys take care of it on a tech end. Guess what? Us on the MoneyGram side, we're on the marketing end, all right? We're going to be the ones that spread this out to people. We're going to use our brick and mortar locations, our existing locations, our infrastructure. We're going to pass the word through that. You guys take care of the tech stuff. We take care of the PR. All right, so now if you don't see a whole bunch of wallets signing up, is that really Stellar's issue? No, it's not. They would be in charge of what their scope is of the business project, and maybe it is a tech. And now I don't know, that could be something completely off. But right now we know that there are no fees right now for the whole MoneyGram project for 1 year, because they really want to ensure that people are getting the best service. So they're using this as a learning time. So I would be very interested in the stats, in the data that they have, and what are they taking those stats with on a daily basis, right? Because right now, when you want to hold true to your mission, you have to reflect upon stats on a daily basis, right? So what does your dashboard, Stellar, say in front of you? What are you doing right now to increase the goal that you have of financial inclusion? All right, so now when you look at these screens, these stats, all of a sudden these numbers take on a different context, don't they? I mean, does Stellar really care how many people are searching it on Google? Well, they might if it's done Stellar MoneyGram, but again, we have to tie those correlations in. Active wallets, I think, would be something they would be interested in right now. Do they care about stock twits? No, but the idea is you also have to make your product relevant to people. And that's going to bring me into the next part of this, where we're going to take this data and we're going to start talking about how do you now take the great product that Stellar has and make it relevant. All right, so now that we're looking at the data differently, we're talking about financial inclusion. All right, what about the product aim and making the product actually fit your intended audience? Yeah, intended audience. All right, so do you know that one of the big problems right now with USDC and Stellar MoneyGram is that there are so many counterfeit USDCs out there that there have actually been people that thought they were buying Center's USDC and they were buying some completely other shams USDC. So, and think that is problems that we're having in first world countries where there is an education standard. Where this product is hoping to be deployed is to third world developing countries where the education standard is not where most of us here that are watching this video have. We're very privileged to have a strong educational system, albeit I know, I grew up in the Chicago system with schools. There are some faults here, but what we have compared to the rest of the world gives us an advantage. And even we struggle with as a consumer where people are doing the whole MoneyGram thing wrong. They're getting the wrong USDC. They're not understanding the cash out process. MoneyGram operators themselves maybe are having problems with it because, again, that program has to be rolled through on the MoneyGram side through their leadership. It's not like Stellar comes into every MoneyGram location and says, hey, this is what you do. Be ready for this. No, this comes down to branch by branch operation, run through regional management, right through your districts and all that kind of stuff. So again, there has to be also execution on the MoneyGram side. So you have to be very careful here to make sure that you draw the line of the metrics that are exactly directed that MoneyGram is responsible for and that the ones that Stellar is responsible for. All right, so the product. Yeah, it's actually a pretty complicated project. I mean, when you think about it, in countries where now we have to get people to use to blockchain money, that might be very difficult because these are cash-based societies. These are societies that have operated in cash barter systems for many, many hundreds of years. And think, the idea of the dollar hasn't been around for that long. Heck, the idea for the euro hasn't been around that long. So see, currency does change. So now get people who are used to a cultural bias, right? Just how they're culturally integrated. And it's not bias in a negative way. It's actually a positive thing, right? Tribal-based societies are some of the best ones when it comes to withholding traditions. So there's some good things to be taken away from there. But that tribal knowledge base that's built is what is part of the issue of trying to get the penetration of your products. Are we developing a first world product for a third world need without trying to break it down to where we can make it more acceptable, more understandable, and be able to be shown how to use to all bases of society that need to use it? Again, this is not an elitist-based technology that's being developed here. This is being developed for the masses, cash-based society. So we have to make sure that our product actually matches our audience. So in summary, we need to start seeing more action from Stellar and MoneyGram, but we also have to start asking ourselves, what is their data? Who is responsible for what? And is continuous improvement a part of their society that gives them that daily focus to make things better? And what is better, everyone? That is more financial inclusion.